Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early Netflix movie review, and today we'll be discussing a new sci-fi thriller by the name of Stowaway, which will be coming to Netflix this Thursday, April 22nd. Now, I got the chance to check it out early, and I'm going to let you all know if this sci-fi thriller on Netflix is worth checking out, all in this spoiler-free review. But before we dive into it, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new reviews like this. It would mean the world to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let me know if this film was on your radar, if you were looking forward to checking it out. And of course, once you've seen it, let's talk about it. Let me know your pros, your cons. What did you think of the premise, the characters? How did you like the ending? And also, just to have fun in the comments, let me know some of your favorite space movies, sci-fi space movies in the last 4 to 5 years. Let's discuss that in the comment section. So let's kick this thing off. So first and foremost, I was sold on this movie just from one thing, and that is Toni Collett is attached to it. She's one of the leads of the film, and I am a huge Toni Collett fan, so I was really excited to see her in a space drama. And when it comes to that genre, space and sci-fi, if you've been a part of this community for a while, you know I love me some sci-fi, so I was sold just on those two things. Space, sci-fi, Toni Collett, let's go. Let's start off with the positives. So first and foremost, this premise. Again, I would advise for you all, do not watch the trailer. I watched the trailer before I watched my early screener. I shouldn't have done that, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but the premise, just the synopsis alone, as I read this premise here, a 3-person crew on a mission to Mars faces an impossible choice when an unplanned passenger jeopardizes their lives on everyone on board. So that just sounds so interesting to me. Just that idea of, number one, being the astronauts, finding someone that is on this ship that's not supposed to be there, and then the opposite of that, if you are that person that isn't supposed to be there, how did you get there? How do you feel about being on that ship? That's a really interesting premise, and that's what really kind of intrigued me and kept me mostly engaged in the first 2 halves of the film in regards to that, putting myself in the position of those characters. So that really sold me there. Also, some other things that really stand out for me in this film is the score from Hauschka. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize, but I thought that really kind of brought me into that feeling, into the environment of being in space, kind of not having anywhere to go. You can't turn around to go back home. So I kind of, again, that's why I love space films. It's just that sense of isolation, and it brings it all together, as well as the cinematographer of this film, Klemens Becker. I thought that cinematographer did a good job of, once we did kind of go out of the spaceship and we were in space, and just kind of capturing that. Again, going to space and going underwater are like the 2 scariest things to me, and I couldn't imagine being in those positions. So I thought that the score and the cinematography really kind of brought that sense of fear and that suspenseful thriller aspect to being lost in space and not having a clue on what to do with this person that's not supposed to be here. Which brings me to the performances. Now, this cast to me is really solid. You have Anna Kendrick, Toni Collett, who I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of hers. You have Shamier Anderson, who I'm not too familiar with his work, but I'll get to him in a little bit. And Dae Kim, who I think is a phenomenal actor. Doesn't get enough credit for the work he's done in his career. But starting with Anna Kendrick, who is honestly the lead of this film, and especially once you see the film, you know what I'm referring to, but she is Zoe. She is the medical person on this mission to Mars, on this 2-year mission to Mars, and she has a lot of compassion. She has a lot of heart, and Anna Kendrick is kind of, I don't want to say she's typecasted, but whenever I see Anna Kendrick, I always just think she's like the perfect like kindergarten teacher, and she's just so pure and so nice, and you get all that in Anna Kendrick in this role. She does have a moment where she gets a little, upset, which you don't really see that in Anna Kendrick's roles, but I thought that she was fine. We'll get to her a little bit later. The person I mentioned that sold me on this film was Toni Collett. There wasn't enough of her, and we'll talk about her character in a little bit, but I thought that she's the commander of the ship, and I thought that she had that presence. And by the way, you rarely see Toni Collett's Australian accent in her movies, and she's full Australian, which I kind of like seeing that. I don't know what it was about her and her natural tongue, but I thought that was great, and I thought that she was a strong commander. You felt that she was like a real commander, and she commanded the ship, and she really wanted to kind of make sure that her crew was safe in this position that they're in, which brings me to who I think was the best character in the film, and not so much like the acting blew everyone out. Again, you have Toni Collette and Anna Kendrick and Daniel, but I thought that Shamier Anderson, this is my first time being exposed to him as an actor. He is our stowaway. He is the passenger who isn't supposed to be on this ship, and I thought that he did the best that he could. I wish the film would have spent a little bit more time on this idea that he is on this ship. Something happens to him. He wakes up 12 hours later knowing that he is thousands of miles from Earth and he is not supposed to be on this 2-year mission. So everything on Earth, what does that mean for him? Being, not trained to be an astronaut. So I thought that he did a good job of embracing that sense of what the hell am I going to do next? And especially when we get like the big incident in this film. So I thought Shamier was the best character in this film. And then Dae Kim as the biologist who has a mission, who has his research that has been compromised because of Shamier's character being on the ship. And I thought that Daniel and Anna had really good chemistry, and Daniel and Toni Collette, as well as Daniel and Shamier. I thought that everyone did the best they could with the script, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But I will say, as far as engagement, I was engaged mostly into the second half of the film. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, and if you haven't seen the trailer, do not watch the trailer because the trailer does give away a lot. But once we get that main climactic thing that kind of sets the film off in regards to, okay, now that he's on the ship, what does that mean for the rest of us? That's when I thought the film was at its best in regards to character moments. The relationship between Shamier Anderson and Kendrick was really kind of strong, especially just this line of dialogue she gives him later on in the film, in the second half of the film. I thought that was when the film was at its best. And again, I can't stress this enough, I really enjoyed I always love putting myself in the characters' shoes, in their headspace, in their position in regards to, okay, if I was an astronaut that's supposed to be on this 2-year mission with just 2 other people and there's a mysterious person on this ship, what now? Food, oxygen, how do we train this person? Are they going to hold their own weight? Are they a good person? I love being in that headspace. So for most of that film, I'm just like, man, what would I do? And then Shamier Anderson's character, if I was him, I am not an astronaut. I am not supposed to be on this ship. I have a family on Earth that depends on me, and just being in that spot, that was the most intriguing aspect of the film. Unfortunately, going into my criticisms, this film was incredibly flat, and if I'm being blunt, it was quite boring for almost a 2-hour film. Now, I say that because this film had so many options, so many different paths it could have went on, not to give away the film, but again, this is labeled as a sci-fi thriller. The thrilling aspects were missing for me because this film could have went more of I don't want to say horror, but it could have went a certain way, and not to give too much away from our characters, but Shamier Anderson, he could have went a certain way. His Michael character, again, he could have been compromising this mission. He could have went AWOL on this mission, right? Or the characters, the astronauts, could have went a certain way in regards to, again, once you see the film, you'll know what I'm referring to in regards to the different routes this film could have went. But ultimately, they went the safe route. And again, if you see the trailer gives away a lot of the film, and I wish I would have never watched the trailer. But also, in the film, they show their hand way too early in regards to how this thing concludes, and it's just a very missed opportunity nonetheless in regards to this idea of being on this 2-year trip to Mars, and you're not supposed to be on this trip, and you're not trained to be on this trip. So again, they missed a lot of opportunities there, which brings me into one of my biggest flaws with this film. I can live with a subpar, mediocre first and second half. And I thought the second half was actually the strongest point, but I can go with a so-so first 2 acts of the film. But if you lead me on to this unpaid off anticlimactic third act, which this film ultimately, in my opinion, has a very anticlimactic ending to the film, that's where I'm kind of left just to be like, man, this was a waste of time. And I'll give you my score at the end, but again, the third act did not stick the landing. It lacked emotion. It lacked the tension. This is, mind you, when you see the film, this is supposed to be the most climactic, the most, suspenseful, tense-filled, emotional moment of the film, and it just fell flat for me personally. And then I mentioned the performances. Anna Kendrick, she's fine. I like her as an actress. She's very typecasted as kind of the girl next door, the nice girl. And I just saw that in the character. And that's the intention of the character. She's the medic. She cares a lot. She wants to make sure that when they are given a certain decision that jeopardizes the whole mission, she is very like gung-ho and like, I don't want to put my life above someone else's. And I appreciate that about the character. But again, the film it shifts the gears to her being the lead of the film like halfway through the movie. And then like it is a lot that she's shouldered to do with the third emotional act. And unfortunately, Anna Kendrick did not work for me in those moments, guys. Again, I like her as an actress. I felt like it was a mixture of the performance as well as the mixture of this script, which again, I found this script to be very bland and very, very generic. And this is just a little nitpick thing. And this is, I don't want to dive too deep into the spoilers, but I just couldn't wrap my mind around how Shamier Anderson's character, how he ended up on the ship. And they never really answered that, which is something that kind of bugged me. But lastly, again, it boils down to that third act and this uneventful, bland, boring script. Good performances. Toni Collett, there wasn't enough for her. There's like a chunk in the movie where she's missing. The film has so much potential, but it unfortunately kind of fell short. So before I give you guys my score, my overall thoughts, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're the complete opposite of my thoughts, if you've seen the film, that's perfectly fine. Let's discuss it. But if you're more in line on what I'm thinking so far, and when I get to my overall thoughts, let's discuss that as well. So with that being said, overall, I'm always a fan of putting myself in the position and the headspace of our main characters when faced with difficult decisions. And I felt this film did a good job of capturing my attention in that aspect. But unfortunately, this film fell so flat, emotionless, and the ending had no real payoff. With that being said, I'll give Stowaway a 2.5 out of 5, which is unfortunate because, again, the premise is there. The bones of like an interesting story was there, but it just didn't stick the landing for me personally. And again, that ending, oh my gosh. Nonetheless, that's just my thoughts. Again, Stowaway had potential, but it fell short. But 2.5 out of 5. Let me know what you thought of the film once you've seen it. Your pros, your cons, your thoughts on that ending. Let's have a discussion about it. Make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. There are quite a few more reviews coming out for you all in the coming days, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you enjoyed this review. We'll see you in the next video.